Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Mark Rhodes. I want to say hi and address an issue that I see pretty common out there, and that's a misunderstanding of what the hormones actually do at menopause. And when I say menopause, that really means the very last period that a woman has. But what we're really talking about is a broader thing where we're talking about months or years probably after or before and after that very last period. And this all came up from an article I read written by a doctor who really should know, but was really passing on some of the misconceptions of what happens at menopause, and that she was talking about estrogens dropping being the main issue, and that's not the main issue. Really, the main issue is progesterone dropping, putting a woman in further in estrogen dominance or further in estrogen dominance. I want to address some of those points from my perspective, and my perspective is based on 30, maybe even 40,000 women. I know at least 30,000 female hormone panels and postmenopause panels that I've looked at, and I know the history of the person, the symptoms she was suffering with, and so forth. And I can see the patterns, and most doctors don't have access to data like that. So I want to address and kind of clear the air a little bit and tell you two or three facts, I guess you could say. First, average age of menopause is about 51, give or take a little bit, a couple of years. And if we add in symptoms related to decreasing hormones, you can say perhaps a few years either side of her last period. So menopause means the last period, but perimenopause means the time frame around that last period. So we're in a way talking about perimenopause, but what happens is it's not so much estrogen dropping. And when I say estrogen, that's a kind of a general term for humans. We're talking primarily estrone, estradiol, and estriol, and estradiol being the main one that we want to track because it's more powerful in its influences on tissue. So it's not so much estradiol that drops at menopause or testosterone at menopause, even though those are kind of common misconceptions. What drops the most is progesterone, and here's why. It's a function of the brain hormones, the pituitary hormones, FSH and LH, and those stand for follicle-stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Under stress, accumulated stress through the years, which is just another, it's a longer phrase describing age. Age could be described as accumulated stress, at least from my point of view. And what happens is the pituitary hormones tend to become irregular, and the spikes that should be there on certain days move before and after those certain days, and the height of the spike tends to drop and level off, and as a result, we get lower progesterone primarily. Now, I should say that a few women do lose some estrogen, but it's more like 10% maximum, really probably more like 5%, where we would want to do something directly, as in maybe give her a little bit of estrogen. But that's just a real rare case. Like I say, maybe 5% of those thousands, tens of thousands of patients I've looked at, test results I've looked at for patients. And I don't want to just, quote unquote, treat the numbers. These are real people, and we need to remember that. But the brain hormones are and become irregular. That result of stress could be a result of quite a few things, toxins or whatever. But the end result is FSH spike drops, which that tends to stimulate the ovary to produce that one, or in the case of twins, it might be two eggs released. But the FSH causes one follicle to become the main one, called a Graafian follicle. It ruptures, and we call that ovulation. The egg is released, and the what was a follicle now becomes a progesterone producing tissue called the corpus luteum, and that's what helps maintain pregnancy for fertilization and the first few weeks of the pregnancy until the placenta takes over as the primary progesterone producing tissue. So that's where I want to end it today, and we'll get into, that's part one. We'll get into part two and pick up from here on the next one. Okay? Talk to you later. Bye-bye.